Hi, my name is Jess, and this is my Tremorz interview.
So how did you get into music?
How did I get into music? I don't really have a defining moment in time. At school, I was always involved. I actually didn't study VCE music at all, and the reason being is that I was like, well, it's just a hobby, and I learnt piano as a kid, and I learnt saxophone for a while, and it was always just like something I really loved, and I sort of thought, oh, it'll always be a hobby. Actually, really wanted to do interior decorating, which is what I got into. And the funny thing is like just over the years after high school, I kind of found myself doing it as a hobby with friends, and then gigs started piling up, and it got to a point where I realized, oh, I'm actually able to make money out of this, but also that I loved it, um, and just probably networking with the right people. I had some really good friends that are still, I'm very close to in the industry, and I think it was sort of just this weird natural progression of like meeting the right people and chipping away and doing what I loved without any real driven purpose in my mind of like, I'm gonna do this as a job. It was just something I loved doing, and it evolved, I suppose. That's sort of the best way I can describe it. I mean, I think I come from a fairly musical family. Both my parents have, I mean, my mum plays piano and my dad can play guitar and sing. And not that we ever did anything together as a family, but I think just growing up with really good music around the house. And I think maybe I've just, had this natural sort of um, taking to singing, and I could sing in tune, and I naturally harmonized when I was younger. And I mean, not that you're just good straight away. Like, I've certainly, when I listen back to things that I did when I was younger, I'm like, oh gosh, you have to grow. But I think there was something always there. And I think I always ended up clicking with the muso crowd. In high school, I was always really good friends with the musos. And then after school, I was always really good friends with the musos. And I don't know, it was just my people. It was just, yeah. So, and I think through that, you grow when you work with people that are better than you, and people that you're feeding off. You kind of get better at your thing.
Or how did you like improve? Because you said like, oh, I listened to myself back then. How did you improve? Like friends that you were listening to or stuff? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if like you've ever heard people talk about being match fit, but I think there was a long time where I wasn't match fit, because the more you do something, the more you exercise a muscle, the stronger it gets. So there's a huge part of that, but also I actually damaged my voice because I hadn't really had any proper training, and I was just blowing my voice out a lot, and I ended up having surgery on my voice because I'd done a bit of damage. And through that, I then went to some like singing lessons and some therapy, and was able to kind of retrain and connect everything properly. So I've certainly come leaps and bounds from there, and I've still got to kind of work on things from time to time because I have done a bit of damage that still flares up. But yeah, it's just one of those things that kind of the more you do it and the more you're challenged, the more you have to rise to the occasion, and the more you work with people that challenge you, I think that and getting lessons was part of that for sure. So I ended up doing this I ended up going to a teacher who does this thing called speech level singing. It's also called SLS, and it's learning to manage and connect your diaphragm, and learning to make sounds that don't strain your voice. And that was just real. I remember like within 2 weeks, I was like, wow, all these little exercises I was doing had completely changed what I was doing before. So yeah, but that was after years of doing the wrong thing. And not to say that I was not getting through gigs, but I would just go too hard and do all the wrong stuff. And then I had to sort of learn about the anatomy of the voice and go like, oh, that's why that wasn't working. Or you look at major artists that tour and travel, and generally they do up to maybe an hour and a half a night of singing. And yes, tiredness comes into all that, there's fatigue, but I do think that they're not doing 12 sets a day of singing where they're just going for it. And so I think there's this thing in the industry where it's like you've just got to take every opportunity and you've got to grab it. And as a singer, our instrument is also what we use to talk and to communicate. So we can't just put it down and have a rest.
Do you have a favorite gig that stands out? Like all-time favorite?
All-time favorite gig. Yeah, I have a couple for different reasons. I have like there's a couple of just bar gig acoustic gigs that I think back on and I'm like, oh, for some reason the vibe was right. I was gelling, not that I don't usually, but you know, like you're calling songs at two people, your guitarist, and you just, you know, you sit in together. And I just some of those gigs come back and I go, oh, that felt really good that day, extra good. But I'm part of a band called Fools, which is this like 13-piece, sort of like a rock soul big band. And we did a festival last year and I don't know, that was just something else that day. That was just really, yeah, 13 people that are your like greatest friends and you love the music and you're playing to like a new crowd of, you know, 2,000 people. Well, that was just like, what?
That was nice. I was gonna say, didn't you do something with Guy Sebastian? I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done just some fill-in BBs on a couple of gigs for him. My partner's actually the drummer in his band, so it was.
I'd say you're gonna have a bit of exposure there if you're singing next to.
Well, it wasn't so much like, oh, you know, but it at the time of those events, I was we were in Sydney, and so like I got called in because I was with him, and because I'm a singer and they know me, and that was awesome. That was really good fun. Yeah, BB's gigs are really fun and they're challenging. They're probably harder than any lead singer gig that you do because you've got to be so precise and you've got to learn stuff properly and there's pressure and yeah, it's good though. It's a good challenge.
Have you released stuff?
I haven't. I've collaborated with people. I've done some releases where I've worked on projects with other people. I've written music before, but I think I've just always gotten to a point where I've abandoned a project that I'm on because I end up doing something else or just hasn't felt right. So yeah, currently I'm in an original band called Fools. It's this big 13-piece band. I'm doing backing vocals, but I suppose we all contribute our own thing. It's not as though there's a band leader that dictates. We're kind of contributing. And I think moving forward, there'll be a lot more of that. So at the moment, that's definitely the thing I'm really passionate about. And I have like my own original stuff like bubbling away in the background. At the moment, I don't really know what to do with it. And I don't know, I think it's a timing thing.
Is there any advice, good advice, bad advice you'd give?
I think one thing I would say is that like find people you really trust that are not exploiting you and that are not just wanting you because you've got something to offer, that you've actually got a relationship with and that care about you when you're not on stage and care about you when you're not just creating, that you're someone that, you know, is meaningful to them, which is probably rare for a lot of people because they find themselves in these business deals and then it's just friendships out of business. But if you can do it the other way around and you've actually got a crew of people that you really work with because you're friends and you're like-minded, I think that's where some of the greatest things happen. There's people to lean on. But then I also think it's just about do your research. I think if you're about to enter into something, make sure that it's working both ways. I have heard a lot of stories where people get locked into stuff that it turns out they really don't want to do and it's sold to them. A lot of people want to make money off people in creative industries, yeah, because they maybe don't have the talent themselves, but they've got a way of making it through someone else. And I think it's just, yeah, do your research, make sure you know people, ask questions, and get as much experience as you can, feet on the ground doing gigs. I think doing some of those gigs around town or doing stuff where you can get experience is a good thing.
I mean, it's also one of those things where I suppose as a new artist, it can also be very daunting because like you as an artist want to focus on your music, and like
Yeah.
which is always the most important, in my opinion. Like the rest is, not the creative stuff. Like, but and so they always fall into this trap where like I need an expert to do this.
Yeah.
And not always
Yeah.
necessary. Not always
A
necessary.
lot of that stuff though, I find that it comes down to like branding and like selling the artist as a brand and a look and a vibe, and there's all that stuff. Whereas if you strip it back, it's like, as an artist, what do you love? What's the music that you want to do? I think a lot of people have lost their way and they're kind of creating music that they might not be that passionate about because it sells or whatever. And maybe there's nothing wrong with that in one way, but I think it just means that there's people making money from not an authentic place. So I think if you've got a vision as an artist and you've got an idea, and I think it's just working with the right people that bring out stuff in you that can guide you in the right way. And if you can do that stuff on your own, that's a bonus, because then you don't need to bring in all that other stuff. But for some people, it's, you get to a point where you're like, all right, I need a leg up, I need to move forward a little bit more. And just knowing who the right people to contact are, who the people in your corner are that can fight for you in the right way. And yeah, it's hard out there. It's very competitive and it's very hard.
Is there like something that has like bugged you, or that's something that you struggle with, like that you feel like has slowed down your career, or things that like every time you have a problem, it's like, oh, it's that again that's bugging me? Is there anything that's always like?
I don't think. I mean, nothing specific. I mean, probably it like harkens back to maybe just the social media world we live in now, and it just being so easy to put up music, to get a YouTube channel. And I mean, back when I first started out, like I used to go to all the gigs and not even go near the microphone. Like I used to love going and watching gigs, and that was part of the training, I suppose, because you're watching people do it and you go, oh, I want to get there. And so in order to get there, I need to see how it works and I need to network. And I sometimes get frustrated when I see people on gigs that have not done some of those yards, because I think that that's a really important part of it, is actually like knowing people and having relationships. And it's just this social media world where like anyone can be a bedroom singer or a bedroom guitarist and have had no real on the ground experience, and yet these people end up getting booked for gigs. And then you've got a world of people that have done like decades of hard work that then don't get considered. Sometimes that bugs me, but I think I've learnt to kind of go, you can't control everything, and you go, stay in your lane, do what you're passionate about, say yes to the things you want to do, and be really happy for people. I think being happy for people along the way is really important.
In the future, what are you hoping to do? Like, your progression in your career in like the next three? This is like a very interview question. What is your progression? No, but in the next like 3-5 years, what are you like hoping? Like any milestones you would love to be able to cross, or?
Look, I'd love to do some more festivals. It just, that saying that out loud in this year of 2020 just is like, you're dreaming, you know. But yeah, I think for our band Fools, I think we're a big venue festival kind of band. Because there's so many of us, we need to have that stage to have fit, not just fit all of us on, but just the sound is really big. And I love that band and I love what we do. And I think it would be, in the next 3 to 5 years, I'd love to be doing more of the stuff we were kind of starting off last year, bubbling away. And
what if say you make it to the big stage and you could have, you know how some artists like to have their red Skittles? They have to have red Skittles when they're in their changing room. What would be your, I would say, must-have on your stage?
Look, I'm a big snack person, so I'm probably not fussy. Oh, man, that's hard. I love Maltesers. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to follow me or find me, I'm on Instagram at jwills. And I'm my band Fools. You can find us at Fools the Band on Instagram.